In this video, I'm going to read data from a file. So I'm going to open up an existing file that I have in my project folder, countrynames.txt, and I've got a list of country names that I'm going to be reading from the file. I have two buttons in a project with a rich edit, and I did create a new Delphi project. In my method 1, on button 1, I'm going to do method 1, where I'm going to be using to check if the file exists using file exist. And in method 2, I'm going to be using try except. So let's code the first button. So quickly, your variables again, tfile, which is of data type text file, and I need a string variable. As I said, you could call it anything. I call it sCountry, and it is a string variable. You could call it sLine, and I'm fine with that because you are reading lines of text. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check if the file exists using the function file exists. So if not file exist, and the file that I'm checking is tfile. Sorry, the file I'm checking is your physical file that is stored on your secondary storage device. So that file name that I've got there is countrynames.txt. So that's the file that I'm going to be checking if this physical file exists or not. So if the file does not exist, I want to put in an error message. So let's go with show message, and an error message must come up if the file does not exist. For example, file not found. And if the file is not found, I want to exit the program. It will prevent the program from crashing. I could use application.terminate. So if the file does not exist, I'm going to display an error message. If it exists, I want to move on and read the data from the file. So I'm going to be using assign file, and I'm going to assign tfile to my file countrynames.txt. countrynames.txt. So I'm going to assign countrynames.txt to tfile. I'm assigning my physical file to my logical file. Reset, for the first time you're looking at reset. Reset is a procedure, and I'm going to reset tfile. So what reset will do, it will open the file in read-only access. So it opens the file in read-only access, and then it sets the file pointer to the beginning of the file. Right, so reset. I now know that there are many lines of text in that text file. It has many lines of country names. So if I have many lines of text in a text file, I would want to use some kind of looping structure. So I'm going to use while not EOF of tfile to begin and end. So while it's not the end of the file, why do I need a loop? Because it will allow me to scroll through that text file. EOF is your end of file marker. It is a function that will return a Boolean value, true or false, depending on whether we have reached the end of the file or not. So while we have not reached the end of the file, I can now read from the file using readLine. So I'm going to read from the file using readLine, and I'm going to say readLine from tfile, and I'm going to store it in a string variable that I created, my variable declaration up there, which is called sCountry. So I'm going to read from memory and store it in a variable called sCountry using readLine. So readLine again will read the selected line of text from the current file pointer, and then it'll move the file pointer to a new line. I can display. I've added on to my form a rich edit. So I'm going to go red output dot lines dot add, and I'm going to display the value that is going to be stored in sCountry. I'm at the end of my while loop. Okay, please do not forget that you need to close the file. So close tfile. So that was a very, very basic, simple program where I checked if the file exists. If the file did not exist, it will display an error message and it will terminate the program. If the file exists, it will create the link. It will open the file, set the file pointer to the beginning of the file. It will use a loop to scroll through the file. If I have not reached the end of the file, it will read from memory into a variable, and then I will display the contents of the variable and close the file. Let's run this program. Read from file, and there it read the contents of countrynames.txt. Close. You can go back into design view, and now what I'd like to do is I'd like to code the second method, an alternative solution that you could use using try except. So using try except again, I need my variables, which is tfile, text file, and sCountry, a string variable. You could use sLine. I prefer using the theme, so I created a string variable sCountry. I'm going to assign the file and assign file tfile, comma, country.txt. I need to put that in a string literal. Okay, I'm going to be using try and except. So in my except statement, an error message will come up should in the event that the file does not exist and it cannot be found. So here I could put, for example, again, file not found, and exit or application.terminate. In my try statement, I'm going to reset tfile, and again reset will open the file and set the file pointer to the beginning of the file in read-only mode. I have again many lines of text in the text file, so a while loop, while not EOF of T file to begin and end. So while I've not reached the end of the file, I can now read again using read line. And I'm reading from memory into a string variable called country. I can display again on my rich edit, read output dot lines dot add, and I can display the value stored in country each time. At the end of my while loop, do not forget, we need close file. I need to close the file, and I'm closing T file. So using the try except, I'm using exception handling techniques to catch an error in the event of the file not being found. I'm going to run this, and I'm going to show you that I did make a deliberate error, and I'm not too sure if you noticed the error, but let's just run it. And I'm going to run read with try except, and it's going to tell me the specified file was not found. Okay, so I'm going to close that. File not found. It comes up with an error message, and I'm going to say OK. So the problem with that is, if you look at my previous segment, the name of the text file is countrynames.txt. And if you do not write the correct text file name, it's not going to find that file. So it cannot have a spelling error as well. So the correct file is countrynames.txt. Now if I run, it should give me, it should locate the correct file. Okay, so now when I say read with using the second method, using try except, it displays the list of country names. Thank you, pupils. Thank you for listening.